The tides are turning in Major League Baseball. A surprising new team lands at the number one spot, and the American League is starting to make up some ground on some of these National League teams, and the usual juggernauts are fighting just to keep pace with each other. Let's dive into this week's power rankings, see who's rising, falling, and who's taking over. First of all, before we get to the top 10, we're going to have a few honorable mentions. First is the Atlanta Braves. They have turned it around since their dreadful start, and don't look now, they are just 3 games under 500. Austin Riley is hitting 300 with 12 RBIs over the last couple of weeks. There is too much talent on this team, and do not be surprised if they crack this top 10 list by June or maybe even sooner. The second honorable mention goes to the Washington Nationals. They are a spunky, fearless, young team, and I can say as a Mets fan, they certainly brought a little bit of humility to Metsville over this past weekend. Check this out. Over the past week, Jose Tena, Dylan Cruz, James Wood, Keibert Ruiz, and Luis Garcia are all hitting over 300. Yes, that's 5 of their starters hitting over 300 in the past week. And Mackenzie Gore leads the National League, and not just that, leads the major leagues in strikeouts. So they are getting good offense paired with some decent pitching. The last honorable mention goes to the Tampa Bay Rays. They are on a 5-game winning streak through Sunday, got their record back to 500. Rookie Chandler Simpson is on fire, 12 hits in his first 8 games, riding an 8-game hitting streak to start his career. Jonathan Aranda is swinging a hot bat. They just swept the Padres while holding them to 3 runs, and they added former Met legend Travis Jankowski in a trade with the White Sox this week. So watch out. All right, here we go. The top 10. Number 10, you have the Cleveland Guardians. Nolan Jones owns the AL lead in average exit velocity of 96 plus miles per hour and hard hit percentage with 65%. This rotation has struggled badly, which is probably why they are not ranked any higher, but they do keep finding ways to win. But Logan Allen, it's time for you to step up and this pitching staff to step up if you want to keep making strides forward. Number 9, you have the Cincinnati Reds. Gavin Lux is leading the National League in batting average in a true renaissance season. Noelvi Marte is 15 for 32 with 4 doubles, 3 home runs, and 15 RBIs over his last 7 games. And Ellie, well, just wait. He is looking like he is about to explode as you start to watch him trending up the statistical leaderboards. Number 8, you have the San Diego Padres. Now, look, the Padres were swept by the Rays, and they're not here because of that. They're here because of what they've already built. Fernando Tatis Jr. is quietly stacking the numbers again this year, looking like he is trying to get back to full superstar status. All right, there we go. We said it. Nick Pivetta, second in the National League in ERA, stabilizing the rotation. However, their injuries are piling up. Jackson Merrill, Luis Arias, Jake Cronenworth, Jason Hayward. But the Padres still fight. However, you have to learn how to overcome and win with injuries if you want to stay near the top. Number 7, you have the Seattle Mariners. Cal Raleigh is tied for the Major League lead in home runs, and he is a star catcher emerging. Get him in the All-Star game as a starter if he keeps this up. Andres Munoz leads the American League in saves, and Logan Gilbert is second in the AL in WHIP, but he's on the injured list. Hopefully, there is not anything there that will be long-term, and we are hoping for a speedy recovery because baseball is always better when its stars are healthy. Number 6, you have another American League team, the New York Yankees. Look, I'm not going to say this team is only Aaron Judge because that's not true, but my goodness, is Aaron Judge on an absolute tear. Aaron Judge is number 1 in the Major League for hits, and Paul Goldschmidt is just behind him, number 2 in the Major Leagues for hits. Aaron Judge is hitting over 400 on the season with an on-base percentage of almost 500. If, obviously, a huge if he can keep this up, you're talking about another historic season for Aaron Judge. Max Fried is the AL innings leader, and Carlos Rodon is near the strikeout leader for the American League, and they have stabilized a rotation that was kind of the big question mark. But what's up with Devin Williams? Keep an eye there because it looks like there's some changing going on in the New York Yankees closer situation. Number 5, you have the Los Angeles Dodgers. Now, this might be the lowest the Dodgers will ever dip this year. So if you're a Dodger hater, this is your opportunity to rejoice. That being said, Shohei Ohtani, he is second in runs scored, batting just under 300. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is the Major League ERA leader, but there's just something missing in the Dodgers' consistency right now. Some people are kind of blaming the bench. Other people just kind of saying the team hasn't gelled fully yet. And as a Mets fan, I kind of understand the idea of it takes a little while for the team to gel. But teams better take advantage of the Dodgers now while they're figuring things out. The Cubs did, and Paul Skeens did. And so the question is, can other teams do that, or are the Dodgers going to be able to bounce back quickly? Number 4, you have the San Francisco Giants. Wilmer Flores leads the National League in RBIs. Yes, former Mets legend Wilmer Flores. And Jung-Hoo Lee, hopefully I'm saying that right, he keeps mashing. And after cooling off, they have taken back the NL West lead due to the slide of the Padres and the struggles, minor struggles, but struggles the Dodgers have been having. All right, before we get to the top 3, make sure if you're enjoying this breakdown, you hit that like, hit that subscribe button. We're on the journey to 300 subscribers, and we appreciate each and every one of you doing that. Number 3, you have the Chicago Cubs. I kept looking at where people were slotting the Cubs in power rankings, and they all had the Dodgers ahead of them. And I don't understand how you can do that based off of the most recent history, based off the current record. I think that the Cubs deserve this spot. And are they for real? It is starting to look that way. The other thing is they're in a relatively weak division, so they may have one of the easier paths to a playoff spot this year. Pete Crow Armstrong deserves serious all-star buzz, and I'm going to tell you as a Mets fan, he would look really good in our center field right now, but alas, we traded him away for Javi Baez. Anyway, Pete Crow Armstrong is actually leading the majors in stolen bases. They have just played 20 straight games against teams with winning records, and over those 20 games, they are 12-8. So it is not like they are just winning or beating up on bad teams. They are winning and staying atop maybe an easy division, but they're doing it by facing a lot of good teams. Number 2, you have the New York Mets. The Mets keep winning overall. They struggled a little bit against the Nationals this weekend, blowing 2 games in really a fashion that they totally should not have done that. There are some bullpen cracks showing. Of course, this team started off with an absolute tremendous performance by the bullpen for the first couple weeks of the year. There are some questions in Metsville. Is Edwin Diaz really fully healthy? He only pitched 1 out of 4 days with multiple save situations being handed over to other relievers. If he is not, the Mets need to find another closer option to pair with Edwin Diaz, because they don't have anyone on this roster that is worth a closer stint other than Edwin Diaz. They swept the Phillies for the momentum boost, but then again struggled a little bit against that feisty Nationals teams. Now, I know you're sick of hearing this, but it is also true that Juan Soto has still not caught fire yet, and that should certainly be a point of looking forward. I would not call it a point of concern yet for Mets fans, but there is an opportunity for this lineup to continue to get better. With Jeff McNeil, and Francisco Alvarez back, there should be a spark for more runs for this lineup, even if the pitching does regress a little bit because they were pitching over their heads to start the season. The hitting, on the other hand, has been a little bit weak. So maybe it's time for there to be a breakout game for this New York Mets offense. All right, and number 1, you have the Detroit Tigers. Spencer Torkelson and Casey Mize finally are looking like the first-round stars that Tigers fans have dreamed of. The Tigers are tied for the major league lead in run differential. Their starting rotation has an elite ERA of 2.89. This team does not appear to be a fluke. They again are consistently winning and have opportunities similar to the Cubs to maybe take advantage of a division that's slightly in a down year. Will they be able to hold this? I guess that remains to be seen.